everyone. Welcome to Talking Logistics, where we have conversations with thought leaders and newsmakers in the supply chain logistics industry. Actually, this is going to be a special pre-season episode of Talking Logistics. We're actually not going to officially premiere this show until January, but I figured what better way to kind of kick off than to do a special episode number one for me to get kind of accustomed and used to this new platform, as well as for everyone attending today to kind of acclimate themselves to this great video technology, and be able to work out some of the kinks and learning curve that's going to come with this. But the idea is once we do launch, is for us to have engaging conversations with supply chain logistics executives from leading manufacturing and retail companies, professors from leading universities, executives from 3PL companies and technology companies, authors, and others in the supply chain logistics community. Today is just going to be me sharing my predictions for 2013, and as well as all of you who are attending. I see we've got Azar, we've got Jim Sexton, Alan Van Boven. A few folks are already online. I don't know how many people are going to show up live today because I did send this out just to a handful of folks to participate. But the idea here is really to be interactive and provide your questions as well. You can do that by submitting a question. So you can see the Submit a Question button right down there. You can also submit comments via the chat feature. There's a chat feature up on the top there. If you're on Twitter or on Facebook and you want to share kind of what's going on in this precast, you can do that right from the platform as well by clicking on the Twitter button up on top, or the share button up on top. So anyway, this is going to be, I think, an exciting journey. I'm very much looking forward to getting started with this program next month. But let's get started here with this preseason episode on my predictions. I've got about 8 predictions that I'm going to quickly go through today. And as I sat back a few days ago and thinking through this and looked at everything that happened this year, easily there could be 20 or 30 things that I could have highlighted and talked about. So what I wanted to do today, and actually I'm going to write about this in the blog next week, so you guys are getting a sneak peek at this, is really condense it to kind of the things that I saw as kind of top of mind. Okay, in terms of the first prediction, and this is something that I easily could have broken down into a number of different predictions. I'm going to put this on the screen so you can see it. So the first prediction is that big data, social media, cloud computing, and mobile will continue to dominate the headlines. If you look at all the press releases that have come out over the past 2 or 3 years from technology vendors, from 3PLs, from folks that are active in the supply chain logistics community, you can almost categorize any of those news items perhaps into one or more of those categories. And I could easily spend a half hour or more on each of those topics because it's just so much breadth and depth to each of them. Social media alone, has been a topic that I've been writing a lot about. I've done a lot of think tanks and speaking engagements around that topic. So there's a lot going on in each of these areas. So I'm not going to go into each of them, but just to kind of highlight, kind of at the 30,000 foot view level, that in 2013, and certainly for the foreseeable future beyond that, big data, social media, cloud computing, and mobile are really going to shape what's going on in the supply chain logistics industry, particularly on the technology side. And I think the real interesting innovations are going to come from the convergence of those 4 technology trends. So that's my first prediction. Moving on to my second one is, and kind of staying with enterprise software, is that we're going to see the enterprise software vendors really start investing in user interfaces. And really providing what I would call a social makeover of social interfaces. When I've talked to executives, ever since I started my career about their use of enterprise software applications, one of the big complaints that they've always had is, in order for me to get my job done, I have to open, 2 or 3 windows. I have to, click here, click there, click somewhere else. And that's really been one of the frustrations and one of the areas that a lot of the enterprise software vendors historically has not paid too much attention to. One of the things that I've seen is, particularly over the past couple of years, is software vendors beginning to invest in this area more heavily. And certainly social media is going to play a key role in that in terms of providing a social media look and feel to some of these enterprise applications. The real value is going to be being able to provide users with the ability to, number one, bring in the business intelligence, right? Be able to see, the information the data that they need for their day-to-day, job and their role. Be able to see that on the screen. At the same time, be able to execute transactions, right from that screen, right? Not having to open up another window. And then third is be able to then initiate communication and collaboration right from that screen as well. So if you think about this, is to be able to see, for example, what loads are going to, if you're a transportation manager, what loads are uncovered right now. Be able to, right from the same screen, be able to perhaps combine those loads into a single shipment, or find existing loads where some of those shipments might be able to fit into, and then be able, right from that screen again, to initiate, let's say, a chat or even a video conversation with a carrier or another trading partner, again, without leaving that main interface, right? So it's the ability, I guess if I were to sum it up, is the ability to integrate or combine within a single working environment business intelligence, the ability to execute transactions, and the ability to communicate and collaborate right from the single screen. So you're going to be able to see, for example, the ability to embed email, micro tweets, texting and video chat, all within the user interface. And I think that's going to be very exciting. Is that going to happen in 2013? Not all of it, but we're going to continue to see, that kind of development take place, in the years ahead. Trend number 3, kind of working off of that, is that we're going to see the use of voice technology come to enterprise applications. So think of it as almost Siri for business applications, right? So we're seeing this right now with Apple, with their iPhone, Google with their voice application. And the idea here is, rather than using a mouse to navigate through the application to do clicks and find what you're looking for, or even now with, using, touch screens, is the ability to actually talk to the application, right? To say to the application, if you're a transportation manager, for example, is to say, hey, show me all the loads that are uncovered so far this morning, or show me where all of my trucks are right now on the map. Show me all the stores where this particular product is running low on inventory, right? And have the application automatically bring that information, up front. Again, I don't think this is something that's going to happen, overnight. It's something that's not going to be fully enabled in 2013. But, it's incredible the amount of advancement that's taking place with voice technology. One of the things that I came across recently was a video showcasing some voice recognition technology that Microsoft has developed. I'm going to have to highlight that in the blog in a future posting. But they showed kind of one of their researchers giving a presentation, and almost in near real time, the application that they developed was translating his words into Mandarin. So it's really neat to see. And I think that's just another example of how quickly and how far voice recognition technology is progressing. So that's another one there. Another one, moving forward on my next prediction, is the robots are coming. Perhaps one of the biggest stories of this year was Amazon, acquiring Kiva, and we certainly wrote a lot about that on the blog this year in terms of what that meant, what that means for Amazon, what that means for the supply chain logistics community in general, and certainly there are other solutions like that coming to market, kind of looking at the role of automation and kind of new automations technologies in the warehouse level, but even beyond warehousing. Um, you can see automation and robotics coming into other parts. So if you look at, for example, Google with their driverless cars, that is an area that continues to evolve. California passing legislation allowing for driverless cars on their roads. Just last week, Volvo announced some key initiatives around investments that they're making around driverless vehicles. Same thing with BMW and other automotive companies. So there's a lot of activity taking place on the transportation side where there's even automation there. I remember a couple of years ago I wrote a posting where I kind of half tongue-in-cheek joked that trucking companies were going to start hiring robots to be drivers, and how that could potentially be a solution to the driver shortage problem. 2 years ago that might have seemed a little bit science fiction or out of the realm of possibility. Fast forward to today and everything going on there with robots and driverless cars, it's not so far fetched anymore. And I think again, this is not something that's going to happen overnight. There's a lot of issues with driverless vehicles, and not only with the technology, but with liability and legislation and things like that. But I think that over the years we're going to continue to see advancements in that area with potential applicability in using that type of technology to fulfill orders, to deliver product to consumers or to distribution centers or to stores. We're even seeing robot technology coming down to the store level. One of the postings I did this year highlighted some robotic technology that was developed at Carnegie Mellon University, and how they're using that at the campus store there, where they have a robot that's roaming the store campus there with vision technologies to be able to look at shelves and see where inventory is low or missing. So if you think about this, even at the store level, at the warehousing level, again, a lot of exciting things going on there. So again, the robots are coming. I don't know exactly what this is going to mean for the industry long term, but it's certainly something that companies really need to start thinking about, and the industry as a whole needs to think about, because what is going to be the role of humans, moving forward if more and more of this, automated technology, more and more of these robots, start playing a bigger role in the day-to-day operations of logistics functions. Going on to my next prediction here is we're going to see continued innovation in the final mile. Now, this is, we've seen a lot of news, particularly over the last few months, with Amazon, Google, eBay, United States Postal Service with same-day delivery, Walmart as well. So there's a lot of activity right now in, bringing in home delivery and how to get products to consumers. And certainly a lot of, retailers and others are looking at ways to leverage same-day delivery as a competitive differentiator. I think that's going to continue. We're going to see, companies look for ways to innovate that final mile. Same-day delivery is one. The use of delivery lockers or other ways, other drop points that might be available for consumers and others to pick up product. One of the interesting things that's involved in all of this is that you're going to see the increased importance of parcel carriers and even couriers as part of the transportation modes that manufacturers and retailers use. I mean, right now a lot of companies don't use couriers. It's not part of a TMS system, for example, a transportation management system. As you get into these, as final mile delivery becomes more and more important, and I see couriers becoming more important, and even folks with their own private cars, providing services to deliver product to consumers, either using their cars or even using public transportation. That's going to require some innovation not only in business models but in the way technology is going to be able to embed these emerging modes, if you will, as part of the technology, as part of the day-to-day operation. So, um, I think a lot of innovation is going to be taking place there over the next few years, and this is really an opportunity for 3PLs. I mean, 3PLs have particularly those that have their own assets, to play a big part in this, to come to the table with some solutions, some technology, and some ingenuity in terms of how to help manufacturers and retailers, kind of change the game with final mile delivery. So I think that is kind of an interesting area that is going to be deserving to keep an eye on over the next few years. Talking about 3PLs, this brings me to my next prediction. We're going to continue to see the blurring of the lines between 3PLs, technology providers, and consultants. I mean, if you are in the market, for a transportation management system, for example, they're the usual suspects that you can go to, right? The software providers. But you know what? There are 3PLs out there that have developed their own TMS solutions that are offering to clients, to prospects, as a software as a service solution. So 3PLs have become technology providers. If you look at some of the technology providers, they're coming at it from the opposite direction. Some of them have started to introduce managed services as part of their offering, right? So not just provide the technology, but to also provide the human IP and the talent to manage some of those operations on behalf of their clients. And certainly consultants are doing the same thing, where they're providing technology as well as managed services. So, these days, if you are a manufacturer, if you're a retailer, and you're looking for any kind of solution that really combines a combination of technology, consulting, and some level of outsourcing, the field out there is much broader today than it was a few years ago. And really the types of companies that are providing those services is much more diverse today. And we're seeing that happening more and more. I predict we're going to see more of that taking place. One of the things I wrote about recently in the blog was how even carriers, trucking companies, and brokers are looking to move up the value curve and become 3PLs themselves. Start providing managed services, start providing technology solutions. Again, there's a lot of risk there, a lot of unknowns there, but I think one of the things I've been seeing over the past few years is there is certainly a desire by carriers and brokers to kind of move up that value curve. Again, these are going to be folks that are going to be providing this kind of broader set of services, particularly to the small and mid-sized shipper market that has been traditionally underserved by some of the bigger players out there. Moving on to my seventh and second to last prediction is the increased use of alternative fuel vehicles. And this is this whole area of sustainability and green. To me, it kind of goes in ebbs and flows. There was a lot of hype and buzz about it a few years ago. Then, with the economy kind of going downhill in 2008, cap and trade kind of being put in the back burner. There was less focus on it. But really, what I've seen a lot of activity, particularly over the last couple of years, has been with service providers as well as shippers really starting to experiment and do pilots with alternative fuel vehicles, whether they're natural gas vehicles, electric cars, hybrid. So we've seen Ryder, UPS, FedEx get involved with this. Staples, AT&T, Sunny Delight, just to name a few kind of shippers that have been involved. And again, when I talk to a lot of the leading executives, one of the questions that they have is, who's been using alternative fuel vehicles? What are the different options? What are the pros and cons of natural gas versus hybrid versus electric? What are they best suited for? Some companies and 3PLs are kind of using them in high density city urban areas and seeing how they work there. So again, the technology there continues to evolve, and we foresee that more and more 3PLs, more and more shippers will continue to work on this and experiment with these types of vehicles down the road. Now let me get to my last prediction here, and certainly I'm going to just remind you that if you've got questions, I noticed that some of you have posted some comments. I'm going to take a look at that after I finish here. But if you've got some questions, submit a question or just post a comment over in the chat, and I'll address them after I wrap up with my last prediction here. So my last prediction is about a topic that certainly I've written a lot about in the blog over the past year. It's something that's at the top of mind for a lot of logistics executives, and that is talent shortage. A lot of companies are having a tough time finding supply chain logistics professionals that have the kind of the skills and background experience that they're looking for. The good news is that it's a recognized problem, and that there's already some action and activity taking place in this area. One of the things we're going to see is we're going to see more partnerships between companies and universities. Just this week on the blog, I wrote about TNT Express and the fact that they launched, what they call Go Academy. Other companies have done similar types of things where they partner with local universities to put together programs that are tailored to the needs of their particular company and industry, to help train and develop talent specific to their needs. So again, a lot of innovation taking place there with those types of partnerships. I've started seeing some partnerships between some of the technology and software companies with community colleges, universities, and even high school to bring technology to the education environment, right? So one of the things that and I know a lot of employers, a lot of logistics executives say is, gosh, it would be great if how most people, when they enter the workforce, they already are familiar with Microsoft Office tools. Certainly they're going to be used to Facebook, LinkedIn, all these other tools. Gosh, it would be great if they could come into the workplace with already some familiarity of how to use a transportation management system, or warehouse management system, or demand planning or forecasting system. And so certainly we're seeing, I'm seeing a lot of partnerships taking place where some of the leading enterprise software vendors are partnering up again with academic institutions to provide access to students with these applications, so they can kind of learn how to use them and get some experience, how these applications work, what their value is, before they enter the workforce. So we'll continue to see, some of that moving forward. So again, those were my 8 predictions for 2013. It's not, a comprehensive list by any means. I'm going to be, writing about it and expanding about it a little bit more on the blog next week. But let me see. So certainly, before we wrap up here, I just want to see if there's any comments here, any questions that people have. I see Alan just posted a comment here. Adrian, thanks for the preview. Regarding big data, do you know of any case study examples of innovative use of big data by transportation service providers or shippers for transportation? Can you comment on examples? Great question. I think a couple of things about big data, and I wrote about this recently. Number one is, the two areas that I think are a real focus for companies is, predictive analytics. So it's not only being able to leverage big data to see what's happening right now and today, but in order to be able to leverage data to try to predict what's going to happen, a week from now, a month from now, a few quarters from now, right? And then be able to adjust and move in that direction accordingly. Secondly, and this is an area that a lot of folks still haven't been able to wrap their heads around, but we're beginning to see some examples, and I'm certainly a big proponent of, and that is, applying big data to network level data, right? So what I mean by that is not only look at the data that you're gathering as a company and applying analytics and optimization to that, but there's an opportunity for folks that have network level data, and certainly software as a service providers, where they've got multiple manufacturers, retailers, carriers, and other trading partners, where data from all these parties are flowing through a central hub, right? So they've got access to, a broader set of data and a broader perspective of what's happening in an ecosystem. You can say the same thing for 3PLs, where they're looking across, their customers, and they have all that data flowing through a central system. Is the ability to do network level optimization, network level analysis and be able to gain insights from that. So some of the examples that we're seeing this with some of the software as a service providers and some 3PLs, is they're beginning to leverage some of that network level data for benchmarking purposes, right? To be able to provide a market rate, or at least give folks that are, in the transportation realm, for example, an external data point to compare their rates to their on-time performance to, and so on and so forth. And I think that's just scratching the surface. I think as this technology continues to develop, and as 3PL, software as a vendor, software as a service providers, and others that have these network level offerings begin to look at their data from that kind of perspective, I think we're going to see some very interesting things going on there. Let's see. Stephanie, can you provide a summary sheet of the 8 predictions or a landing page? Stephanie, I'm gonna be writing about this on the blog next week. So next Wednesday, when I do my blog posting, I'm going to comment on these 8 predictions. Anyway, I would appreciate your feedback. We're coming up on the half-hour mark. I don't know if any of you have any additional questions. If you do, certainly put it via the chat or submit a question. But hopefully you found this of value. Hopefully this was a good introduction to the platform and give you a good sense of what's in store next month when we formally launch this. And like I said, when we launch this next month, it's not just going to be me. But most of the episodes, it's not just going to be me. I'm actually going to have a featured guest where we're going to be talking about a current trend or a topic that's of interest to the community. And it's another great opportunity for everyone who joins us to be able to ask questions and engage in the part of participation. And that's really, my main, objective with launching Talking Logistics is really to, provide a platform via Spreecast here for, the community to really participate in the conversation. So I want to thank you all for participating today. I welcome your feedback in terms of what you thought about it, in terms of the platform. Certainly, if you've got any ideas for guests that we should, that you'd like to see on the program, that you'd like me to interview, that you would like to ask questions to, you can send me an email at adrian@talkinglogistics.com. Again, adrian@talkinglogistics.com. Again, thank you all for joining, and I look forward to seeing you all in a future episode of Talking Logistics. Happy holidays, and look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you very much.